Hello and welcome to another AMASH interview. I'm here in not so sunny Manchester today with Samantha. Samantha contacted me quite a little while ago now, probably over a year, and very kindly sent me a DVD of just voice to camera, well, her to camera, talking about what she'd experienced and what she was feeling from her experiences. And she was very, very concerned about showing her face on camera, so she presented herself disguised with a mask and gloves, so she would be unrecognisable for the safety of her loved ones and herself. However, she has decided after some time that it is time to come forward as herself. And so I'm going to hand you over to Samantha on this 14th of August 2013, and I'm sure you're going to find what she has to say absolutely amazing. So now, Samantha, thank you for joining us. So Samantha, thank you very much again, as I said, for coming along. I would really love to hear something of your early life, and I know we've discussed it a bit, and you said there's a whole book there. But maybe we could just hear a little bit, just to give the folks who are listening a little bit of context.
Right. Okay. I was born in Manchester, Crumpsall. I was adopted because I was put in a home when I was 6 months old, and my stepmother, who is Austrian, and my father, who's Jamaican, came to collect me and my sister. About 3.5 to 4 years old, we were collected from the home, and then we went to live with my adopted mother and my Jamaican father.
Okay.
I didn't, at this stage, I didn't know my real mother, who she was, so my father didn't really talk about my real mother, so I only found out later on in life that my mother was, her father was from Sierra Leone, so my mother's got an African background, and my Jamaican father, and my grandmother was Irish, so from the north of Ireland. So, and my grandfather was from Sierra Leone, and his father before him was from Liberia, and then it goes back to Egypt. So there's
a really interesting
heritage
mix
there. Yeah.
So coming forward a little bit now, Samantha.
Yes.
Tell us some of the first memories that you've had that are relevant to your contacting AMASH.
Well, it was later on in life. Nothing really significant in early childhood. I didn't have any ET experiences or anything. I had a lot of dreams because I'm a dreamer, so I tend to dream things and get messages through my dreams. I've always been very psychic. In fact, I had a lot of psychic dreams when I was a child, where I would go into past lives and experience those past lives and come out of them when I woke up. And I was also an astral traveller, which caused a bit of trouble for me, because I would astral travel mainly in the dark when I was asleep, and had all sorts of experiences there. So very sensitive child, very shy, very inward, very kind of inward looking, if you like. And related a lot to my psychic experiences more than my actual life itself. I knew there was so much more, and that I wasn't being told, and I tried to explore that, as a child. And I had a very understanding sister, so I could relate anything to her without being made fun of, or
And that's important.
that was very important for me. Now, with the Amash, I started. I didn't actually know about the Amash until
The MASH project.
until 2000, and I think it was 2011.
Yes, that's when we actually came into being.
Yeah, and I watched a few programs on television, and then I realised, there's a platform for voice out here for my experiences.
Exactly.
And then that's how I actually got in touch with the Amash project, because of the experiences I was having, which were quite horrific, to be honest. There was a lot of psychic stuff. Do you mind if we sort of go back to the beginnings of all of that? So we've come through a childhood which was it a happy childhood, more or less? Childhood was not happy. I was not happy.
Okay.
I was a very unhappy child, and people used to say that because I had a very sad face. I always had a very sad look on my face, mainly because the home I'd come out of was so happy, and so it was heavenly. It was like heaven.
And now you're talking about the actual children's home.
The children's home.
Which was where?
This was in Macclesfield, and it was called at the time, or we used to call it Pallotti Hall. It's actually Italian, Pallotti, double T-I. Idyllic place, full of pond. It had a pond at the back, and we had tadpoles. We had the summers lasted forever. The kids played outside every day. There was sunshine. Well, it seemed like it was sun shining every day, to be honest. And I had a particular lady or nurse who actually took to me. So she used to kind of, almost like a guardian, And then I was taken out of that.
By your real parent, or by your real father?
By my real father and my stepmother, who I was actually afraid of, because she seemed very cold and remote, and and I can gladly say now that I've got through that, because I actually love her very much. She taught me a lot. So
that's lovely.
I have nothing there, and I healed that anyway a long time ago. Decided to let it go, mainly because I realised that parents have things too. It's raining. Parents have things too that they may not have healed, and I was very, very compassionate towards her. And my sisters didn't quite understand it. How can you be so understanding and compassionate towards her when she treats you like that? Because I used to think, and I still do as a child, nobody is born like that. There's always something in their life that made them the person they are. So you've always got to look deeper, So I was very compassionate, but I seemed to understand that as a child as well.
Wonderful.
So I never kind of reproached her, really. I just tried to understand her, And she had a very traumatic time, because she went through the war, and with the German soldiers and everything, things happened to her mother. So when I kind of put that into context, I understood why she was the way she was, Always looking at the bigger picture. I was taken from that idyllic place into a very cold place, and it was literally very cold. The house was cold, and I had bad circulation, which I've got a problem with, and we had cold fires. So if the fires weren't lit, the house was literally freezing. It was almost like the warmth and the sun and the love to a place of, detachment, coldness, a total opposite to what I'd experienced in my very early childhood.
Yes.
So so I wasn't happy, mainly because of that, and my stepmother, without being anyway judgmental, had a lot of problems that she tended to take out, and I was the focus because I was the shy child. I was the one that didn't speak. You know, when I did speak, nobody could hear me because I was whispering. You know, and a lot of people commented on that. Actually, they noticed that I wasn't happy, and I had a lot of aunties that tried to come in and take me out of it because they knew I wasn't happy. I had an auntie from America who tried to take me away to America. That didn't work out, and various aunties that came in and could see all of us, my other two sisters as well, were not happy, but mine was very deep because I think because I was very sensitive, it affected me more, and because I took most of the flack, it affected me more. So, but I just I knew there was a reason for it, but I didn't know what the reason was.
Yeah.
So on a deeper level, I knew that, you know, there's a reason. Bear with it and try and be as happy as you can, you know. So I kind of made the most of the times that were happy. I really enjoyed myself, and the times that were sad, I tried to cheer myself up, or I had a laugh with my sister, or, you know.
So if we move on now, so we've got a good sense of your childhood home for a good few years from after the children's home that you were in.
Yes.
When was the first sort of inkling of anything different happening to you that was either other dimension related, apart from the dreams, I mean?
Yeah.
What sort of age would you be becoming aware of that, or paranormal activities?
I'd say about 21, round about that age. And I was actually living in a one-bedroom flat. I'd left home, I was living in a one-bedroom flat, and the room I was in was actually, somebody said a man had died in that room, so I didn't really take much notice of that at the time, but there was always things happening in that room.
And what kind of things are you?
Well, I had nightmares, basically. I had nightmares, and I think the first time I saw a reptilian was then in that room, because it must have been some sort of portal or something. It was attracting that kind of energy. And I had a dream, and this entity came in and tried to attack me. I was about 21, and I remember waking up, because I used to pray a lot, being I'm not a practicing Catholic, but I do believe in God, and I used to wake up in sweats praying, you know, for this entity to go away. And also I had a dream about this future, this thing that was happened to me in the future, which was really bizarre, because the person that it involved was actually in the dream, and another friend, a good friend of mine, was in the dream, and the dream was that I was to be sacrificed in the dream, and there was a circle of people in the dream, one of whom was the girl that I met later on, or I knew later on, and one was a friend of mine, and they were all dancing around the fire, and I felt like it was something to do with this entity that I'd had a previous dream about, and it basically, they were after my soul essence. Basically, that's what came in the dream.
Right, and just to speak about that for a moment.
Yeah.
Did you ever see these entities externally, or was it always in dream state?
Dream state.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I would feel things and sense things, but not actually see them. But this one came. This was so powerful that I felt like if I'd actually seen it, I don't know what would have happened. But in the dream state, it was giving it me through the dream state, because that's where my gift is, I suppose. I can probably on the astral levels, because I was so much on the astral levels, that I think that's probably why it came through that way, you know. So all I can say is that dream, I forgot about it for years and years. I forgot about the dream, because it's not something you want to remember, but it kind of put it to the back of my mind and thought, well, I don't know, I didn't know it was futuristic. It was giving me a kind of warning in a way, but I didn't realise it was. I thought it was, at first I thought it was just a bad dream, and then when what happened later to come took me back to that dream. So it was all interconnected, if you like, and that was when I was about 21. I mean, I can jump forward now because nothing else significant happened then.
When Samantha had been chatting to me earlier, she'd mentioned something, an incident that happened when she was only 15 years old. And because I'd mentioned the Amash project earlier, she went straight into some other information. So I've asked her to go back and tell us a little bit now about her event when she was only 15 years old.
Going back, when I was 15, I had a really significant life-changing event.
Yeah.
And it involved, actually I was in a kind of meditative state. I'd just woken up out of bed, got out of bed, and I was just looking out the window, and all of a sudden my whole being shot out into the universe, and I just became totally one with the whole universe, and I could see the stars, and I was actually out there. It was almost like it enveloped me. I was part of it, it was part of me, and there was a total oneness, and it stayed with me for the rest of my life. And also there was a couple of seconds where I actually connected with everything, and I knew everything there was to know, and in that moment there was no questions anymore about anything, because I already knew that everything. And it's just at that point when I thought, my God, I know everything. I am everything, I know everything. This is amazing. Just at that point, when that thought came in my head, I shot back into my body, and it was about 10 seconds of that experience, but it stayed with me. It was so significant, so powerful, that it stayed with me for the rest of my life.
Did it change any pathway that you took?
Yes, it did. Later on, I started looking into the healing. Also, I was still having my psychic dreams in between these, and past life experiences in dreams. And can I mention one of them?
Oh,
actually?
do, yes, I was just going to ask, are any of them, or all of them human?
Yes, because one of them involved, I can name 3. There was a past life where I was a slave. I was 6'2", I was male, and I was trying to escape from the hut I was in. It was a cabin, and it was very dirty. I didn't like it, and I thought to myself, I am going to get my freedom one way or another, and I wanted to escape from there, and I was kind of planning an escape, you know. The second one was, I was in a wheelchair.
Oh. Can I just ask you about the first one again?
Yes.
Do you know what nationality or where you were on the planet in that lifetime experience?
Well, I was a slave, so I assumed I was in America.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I was on a plantation.
Oh, okay, so you're
Yeah,
a black African slave, right,
Yeah,
okay.
I'd come in from the work that I was doing on the plantation, and I was
Right.
actually very tired. But I thought to myself, I'm not staying here. I'm going to get away one way or another. I'm going to escape from here. So the only thing that was on my mind was freedom, escaping physically, you know. And that was reoccurring, that one. There was also another one where I was actually in a wheelchair. I was an older man, and I was being looked after by the nurses, and they were wheeling me around. But I was a bit of a twinkly-eyed kind of, always joking and laughing with the nurses. But I was well loved. I felt well loved and well looked after. I don't know what period that will have been. And one of the really powerful and significant one was, I was with my sister. This was later on in life. I had this dream. I was with my sister, and we were both blonde-haired and blue-eyed, and we were brothers. And I don't know which time period it was in, but there was a lot of fighting going on. And I was actually dumb. I had no tongue. I think I had my tongue cut out. So I couldn't speak. So I could only communicate telepathically. So I would communicate with my sister and another friend who I know, who was in this dream. I would only communicate telepathically. And I felt it was in, it could have been 15th, 16th century, I'm not sure.
Okay. Well, those are always interesting, aren't they,
Yeah.
those remembrances? I know I've had a few
Yeah.
myself. But I want to bring us forward now, because I
Right.
want to touch base with some of the stuff that's really impacted you.
Yes.
And I know from the DVD, which I mentioned that you'd sent before,
Yes.
there was an awful lot. So we've got quite a
Yes.
package to get through.
Yes.
And you mentioned a phrase which I really think is relevant, and I'm going to show you that, which is the Masters of Deception,
Ah, yes. Yes.
which is what I think is a really good title for most of this kind of work, actually,
Yes.
to uncover the Masters of Deception.
Yes. Yes.
So you're on a spiritual journey.
Yeah. Okay. After leaving home, I went to work at Woolworths for a couple of years, and it was a temporary, just to pay the rent really, because I just left home and I was living with my sister in a flat, so we needed to pay the rent. And I worked at Woolworths for a couple of years. I knew it wasn't what I wanted to do, but then I went into nursing because I thought that's what I wanted to do, but that was quite heavy, and I didn't stay there very long because I always got the rough end of the stick. I always got the worst jobs. And then from there I went to work at Lewis's in the frozen food section.
Oh, I know about frozen food sections.
Yeah.
I've done a bit of that myself.
We had a woman there called Betty Birdseye, I always remember her. Betty Birdseye. And then from there I decided to do a secretarial course. So I did a TOPS course, as it was known at that time. And from there I got a job working at Manchester Council for Community Relations. I worked there for a while on a project, unemployed. Sorry, not unemployed, that was for youth, the youth, to help the youth. Young black youths that were getting into trouble. We were doing support project with working with them. That was quite interesting. I enjoyed that. And then from there, the project funding ended, so I ended up working at Manchester Education Authority. I worked with them on a project called 45 Plus Unemployed Project, which for older people who needed to get back into study or prepare or study for work. And I stayed there for a couple of years. After that, I moved on to, I decided to go and study. I did humanities degree course for 4 years. Did 2 years part-time and 2 years full-time. And from there I decided to explore the spiritual side, because at that time I was still having dreams and spiritual. I was quite interested. I started doing yoga, and I think at that time as well I was quite doing a lot of reading on the spiritual side. I think it was Doris Stokes and books like that. Losban Rampa was really into when I was about 17, and then from there I decided to see if I could get on maybe a healing course or something, and I went to the Corn Exchange one day. I saw an advert for getting in touch with your higher self, and I'd just been reading books on that, so I was really interested. And I walked into the shop, and the lady was teaching crystal healing courses and Reiki courses, and I actually went on a partial course. I was interested in connecting with the higher self, as I said, so I did an introductory course to that, and that was very powerful. Did a special dance called the Star, I think it was called the Star Triangulation Dance with Starborn members. And we did a particular dance, and I was absolutely floating on cloud 9 for about 3 months. I couldn't come down. I felt like I was totally in another time space, but it was lovely. It was very light and airy, and I loved it. And but for some reason that one didn't take off. I think there was some trouble with the person that was running the course. There was some problem there.
So that took you into all kinds of energy medicine, Reiki and crystal healing,
yes,
and, as a therapist
yes,
as well to some degree.
Yes.
And then did you also undergo therapy yourself or healing?
I did a 2-year crystal course in which we were the healers and the being healed.
Yeah.
That was wonderful. I met many wonderful people through the course. Very open-hearted, loving people. It was wonderful. I really enjoyed it. That brought a lot of issues up for me, though, personally. Not necessarily all past life, although there were a few more coming up at that time. And from there I did a Reiki course as well. I was attuned to the Reiki, and that was wonderful. And that led me to do the healing. So I was actually going out healing people, and doing the crystal healings. Now from there is where I had my first experience of psychic attack, because I was actually healing somebody at the time.
Can we just give a time reference to this, Samantha? Because we've got some from when you've been doing your humanities degree, and I think now we've covered a few years. So where are we sort of in the time frame of your life?
We're talking about late 90s. Possibly about 90, 98.
Okay.
I've done the healing courses, and I was deciding which way to go next, whether to set up a healing practice, which is what I really wanted to do, or work with somebody else, because there was a few people had asked me about working with me, so I was thinking about it. I wasn't sure. And so we're talking about late 90s, 98. I'm just trying to think. I think I was about 40, about 39, 40.
And what was it that actually you experienced during that particular event?
Well, I went to do a healing with somebody.
What was it? What form of healing were you doing?
It was Reiki.
Reiki, yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
but I didn't. I wasn't sure whether I wanted to do the healing because this person said they'd been psychically attacked. It was dark magic. I knew nothing about it. I'd not, I had no experience, so I felt a bit. I was thrown in the deep end, if you like. Fish with a boat without a paddle, and a little fish being chased by piranhas, if you like. I went to see the lady. I tried not to because I thought I was a bit out of my depth, and I tried to commandeer a few other healers to maybe who were more experienced than myself too, but nobody seemed interested. So, and I knew the girl because I'd been healing her previously before she was psychically attacked, and she said that somebody had done something. Now, I don't know the full story behind that, and I'm not going to go into it because I do not know the ins and outs of it. All I know is that I went to see her. I brought some mugwort that another healer had said, bring this to her and this will help her, tell her to hang it in her house. Which she did, but I felt almost compelled to give her some healing because she was being psychically attacked while I was there, and she kept saying, oh, it's happening again, and me being wanting to help, which I just kind of gave her some Reiki, and her daughter was there as well, all the family was there, but I felt it affected them as well. There was something going on with the rest of the family.
How did it manifest, this attack?
Well, while I was giving her Reiki, I put my hands on her head.
Yeah.
She said, be careful, Samantha. And suddenly I felt this energy. It felt like two energies came into my body.
Oh.
And I started shaking, and I said, I've got to go. My nerves I was pretty much shaking, and I said, I really don't feel well. I've got to go. And she said, okay, you're all right. And I remember saying, yes, I think I will be. And I went home, and I still didn't feel right. I did a meditation, started trying to, ask for Archangel Michael's help and the angels, and I started going cold. Well, normally when I did that, I felt quite all right. I felt the energies coming in, and I'd breathe them in, and but I didn't on this occasion. I just went really cold, and I felt like the energies had attacked maybe my solar plexus, because my stomach was really almost like griping pains, and I felt very wobbly. But I didn't really kind of understand what was happening. I just knew that was happening. I went to bed. The next day I tried doing my meditation again. It was still with me. So I thought, okay, just do. After leaving home, I went to work at Woolworths for a couple of years, and it was a temporary, just to pay the rent really, because I just left home and I was living with my sister in a flat, so we needed to pay the rent, and I worked at Woolworths for a couple of years. I knew it wasn't what I wanted to do, but then I went into nursing because I thought that's what I wanted to do, but that was quite heavy, and I didn't stay there very long because I always got the rough end of the stick. I always got the worst jobs. And then from there I went to work at Lewis's in the frozen food section.
Oh, I know about frozen food sections.
Yeah.
I've done a bit of that myself.
We had a woman there called Betty Birdseye, I always remember her. Betty Birdseye. And then from there I decided to do a secretarial course. So I did a TOPS course, as it was known at that time. And from there I got a job working at Manchester Council for community relations. I worked there for a while on a project, unemployed. Sorry, not unemployed. That was for youth, the youth, to help the youth, young black youths that were getting into trouble. We were doing support project with working with them. That was quite interesting. I enjoyed that. And then from there, the project funding ended, so I ended up working at Manchester Education Authority. I worked with them on a project called 45 Plus Unemployed Project, which for older people who needed to get back into study or prepare for study for work. And I stayed there for a couple of years. After that, I moved on to, I decided to go and study. I did a humanities degree course for 4 years. Did 2 years part-time and 2 years full-time. And from there, I decided to explore the spiritual side, because at that time I was still having dreams and spiritual. I was quite interested. I started doing yoga, and I think at that time as well, I was quite doing a lot of reading on the spiritual side. I think it was Doris Stokes and books like that. Losban Rampa was really into when I was about 17. And then from there, I decided to see if I could get on maybe a healing course or something. And I went to the Corn Exchange one day. I saw an advert for getting in touch with your higher self, and I'd just been reading books on that, so I was really interested. And I walked into the shop, and the lady was teaching crystal healing courses and Reiki courses, and I actually went on a partial course. I was interested in connecting with the higher self, as I said, so I did an introductory course to that, and that was very powerful. Did a special dance called the Star, I think it was called the Star Triangulation Dance with Starborn members. And we did a particular dance, and I was absolutely floating on cloud 9 for about 3 months. I couldn't come down. I felt like I was totally in another time space. But it was lovely. It was very light and airy, and I loved it. And but for some reason that one didn't take off. I think there was some trouble with the person that was running the course. There was some problem there.
So that took you into all kinds of energy medicine, Reiki and crystal healing,
yes,
and, as a therapist as well to some degree.
Yes.
And then did you also undergo therapy yourself healing?
I did a 2-year crystal course in which we were the healers and the being healed.
Yeah.
That was wonderful. I met many wonderful people through the course. Very open-hearted, loving people. It was wonderful. I really enjoyed it. That brought a lot of issues up for me though, personally. Not necessarily all past life, although there were a few more coming up at that time. And from there I did a Reiki course as well. I was attuned to the Reiki, and that was wonderful. And that led me to do the healing. So I was actually going out healing people, and doing the crystal healings. Now from there is where I had my first experience of psychic attack, because I was actually healing somebody at the time.
Can we just give a time reference to this, Samantha? Because we've got some
Yes.
from when you've been doing your humanities degree, and I think
Yes.
now we've covered a few years. So
Yes.
where are we sort of in the time frame of your life?
We're talking about late 90s, possibly
Okay.
about 90, 98.
Okay.
I've done the healing courses, and I was deciding which way to go next, whether to set up a healing practice, which is what I really wanted to do, or work with somebody else, because there was a few people had asked me about working with me, so I was thinking about it. I wasn't sure, and so we're talking about late 90s, 98. I'm just trying to think. I think I was about 40, about 39, 40.
And what was it that actually you experienced during that particular event?
Well, I went to do a healing with somebody.
What was it? What form of healing were you doing?
It was Reiki.
Reiki, yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
but I didn't. I wasn't sure whether I wanted to do the healing, because this person said they'd been psychically attacked. It was dark magic. I knew nothing about it. I'd not, I had no experience, so I felt a bit. I was thrown in the deep end, if you
Yeah.
like. Fish with a boat without a paddle, and a little fish being chased by piranhas, if you like. I went to see the lady. I tried not to, because I thought I was a bit out of my depth, and I tried to commandeer a few other healers to maybe who were more experienced than myself to, but nobody seemed interested. So, and I knew the girl because I'd been healing her previously
Huh?
before she was psychically attacked, and she said that somebody had done something. Now, I don't know the full story behind that, and I'm not going to go into it, because I do not know the ins and outs of it. All I know is that I went to see her. I brought some mugwort that another healer had said, bring this to her and this will help her, tell her to hang it in her house, which she did. But I felt almost compelled to give her some healing, because she was being psychically attacked while I was there, and she kept saying, oh, it's happening again. And me wanting to help, which I just kind of gave her some Reiki, and her daughter was there as well, all the family was there, but I felt it affected them as well. There was something going on with the rest of the family.
How did it manifest, this attack?
Well, while I was giving her Reiki, I put my hands on her head.
Yeah.
She said, be careful, Samantha. And suddenly I felt this energy. It felt like two energies came into my body.
Oh.
And I
okay.
started shaking, and I said, I've got to go. My nerves I was pretty much shaking, and I said, I really don't feel well. I've got to go. And she said, okay, you're all right. And I remember saying, yes, I think I will be. And I went home, and I still didn't feel right. I did a meditation, started trying to, ask for Archangel Michael's help and the angels, and I started going cold. Well, normally when I did that, I felt quite all right. I felt the energies coming in, and I'd breathe them in, and but I didn't on this occasion. I just went really cold, and I felt like the energies had attacked maybe my solar plexus, because my stomach was really almost like griping pains, and I felt very wobbly. But I didn't really kind of understand what was happening. I just knew that was happening. I went to bed. The next day I tried doing my meditation again. It was still with me. So I thought, okay, maybe you'll be fine. So I did another meditation, and I was due to go to my other sisters who actually was doing a workshop, not a workshop. We were doing on a regular basis on once a month. We had these channeling type of workshops where we'd channel and then as a group and then go and heal each other, which was quite fun. So I was due there, and I was actually went to do some healing, and I didn't feel well, so I said, I'm sorry, but I can't do any healing at the moment. I don't know why, but I just can't do it. And
did you feel this entity still there
yes,
in you? Yeah.
Yeah, I felt it was within me.
Yeah.
And it's really weird how it happened, because it felt like blah, 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 like two of them had gone in there, and I could just feel these waves, and it disturbed my energy basically. And then what happened then was I started, as I said, trying to heal after we did the channeling meditation, and I found I couldn't do it because I was going cold all the time. So I went to bed, and I slept at my sister's house that night. Nothing significant happened. It was fine, but I just still didn't feel well. So basically I went home and I said, I've got to try and do something about this, because I don't feel well at all. I'm not feeling any better. I just feel the same, like something is still with me. So I went home and I lay down, and I had in the healing, I had done a rebirthing workshop, and the healer there said, you're very good at this rebirthing. You know how to, you seem to know how to breathe naturally, the energies, because I felt quite high actually. So I started doing the rebirthing, thinking, well, if I do the rebirthing, I'll breathe in the energy and that will help, you know. So I started doing the rebirthing, and all of a sudden the room went totally black, couldn't see anything, and then an energy came in that was so powerful that my hands started to, I was fighting what this energy, it was so powerful that my arms actually bent backwards, and my chest started to concave. I couldn't breathe, so I started breathing slowly, very shallowly, and started asking for God, I'm with God, I'm with God, I'm with God, over and over again. And at that point I felt like the energy was being sucked out of me. Now this ties in with some of what Alex was talking about when he said a group of, was it Alex, on one of your
yes, could well be, yes.
And he said that there's something to do with sucking out the soul or something.
Right.
They have long pipes, and I felt that, well, that pretty much describes it, because I was actually losing myself. I could hardly breathe, because my chest was caving in, and my ribs, I thought at one point were going to break, and my hands were actually turning in backwards. My wrists felt like they were going to snap, and I was really, it took every sinew of my being to fight it. And then I started asking for God over and over again, and this came to the point where I thought, I'm not going to make it. And just at the point where I thought I'm not going to make it, something came in and must have lifted it off. And then I suddenly thought, oh God, thank God I can breathe, and my hands returned to normal, you know, and I was okay. But I wasn't okay, because I still had these two, whatever they were, entities in me.
Oh, right.
It hadn't gone completely.
Oh, right.
It hadn't
Okay.
completely gone. So, and also, the room was being absolutely, things were coming in. There was all sorts of crackling in all corners of the room. It reminds me a bit of Sarah Stanger, what she was talking about. There was all sorts of things crackling and noises going on in the room, and I thought, my God, what is going on here? It was massive. It was a massive psychic attack. I got some crystals. I was on my own. I got some crystals. I put them round the bed. Got in the centre. It was one of the fold-out beds. I lay in the centre of it, and I just asked God, look, you're going to have to take care of me tonight, because whatever's happened, they're trying to take me out. And I was protected. Even though things were going on, I thought, well, I'll be protected, because at that point, I didn't even want to go to sleep. I didn't feel safe going to sleep. I went to sleep the next day. I phoned up my friend. I told her what happened. And I said, she didn't know what to make of it. So she brought another healer round. The healer checked me, checked the flat. You're fine. Nothing wrong with you. Yes, at this point, the healer checked me out and said, Samantha, there's nothing wrong with you. You're perfectly fine. The flat's fine. I can't find anything here. You'll be fine. But I didn't feel fine. And I said, well, I don't really feel 100%. And she said, well, I can't find anything, so you must be okay. So at that point, I just thought, well, it may be something I have to work on myself. I don't know. I don't know what happened. At that point, I went to stay at my sister's, and I thought it best to stay the night, and she thought it best I stay the night. So she said, Samantha, it's fine, you can stay the night, don't worry. She said, you do not look well. And I said, I honestly don't feel well. I know something happened, but I don't know what.
So we've just heard that Samantha suffered a really bad psychic attack, which made her feel very unsafe. And as a consequence, she went to stay with one of her sisters. And whilst she was there, she told me she also endured another attack, though different in kind. Now, it was at this point that really the MASH element sort of kicks in, because it's at this point that she began to say to me that she said that she, in exploring all of this, she began to sense that there was something else from another plane, another dimension involved. Not only what we might call this psychic attack, but also she felt that this was due to, as she said, or as she called, a renegade group, and they were reptilians. So I'm going to let Samantha tell you a little bit more about that as we carry on with her story.
Picking up from where I left off, my sister kindly put me up for a few months, and in that time I was constantly attacked every night. I couldn't sleep, I wasn't eating. I think I went down to about 7 stone. I was pale. People were commenting when they came to the house, I went very close to a nervous breakdown. I didn't break down, but I went as close as you can get to a nervous breakdown.
Right.
It was happening every night, so I wasn't getting much sleep either. Yeah. So, and I was waking up and I was praying every single night and kind of rocking motion. Now, I sensed intuitively like this was a renegade bunch of aliens. And
what gave you that idea? What gave you that impression?
I can't. It's not something you can describe, but I just felt it's not from this part of the universe. They are not from this part of the universe. What do they want with me? And I kind of telepathically asked them that. What do you want with me? I'm doing healing. I'm on the spiritual path. I'm doing everything possible I can do to get to my, my higher self and my this oneness, So, and they got very angry, and a storm, an electrical storm, broke out over my sister's house.
Did they give you any information about what they were taking exception to specifically with you?
They wanted my essence. They wanted to take my essence, basically, my soul, if you like. That's what they were after.
Is that what they kind of communicated, or what you perceived? Right.
What I perceived. And they were very angry that they couldn't get to me, if you like. And I felt my sister is psychic as well, so she kind of sensed what was going on, but not all of it. I couldn't tell her all of it because I didn't want to frighten her, so I just kind of said, yes, they're here again, and I didn't say what they were or who they were. I just said, they're here again and I'm being attacked again. And I felt sorry for my sister because I was constantly waking up in the middle of the night, 3 o'clock in the morning, 2 o'clock in the morning, 1 o'clock in the morning, and rocking and praying.
What was the nature of the attacks of these ongoing ones now? Was it similar to what you experienced before?
It was similar to what Sarah Stanger was talking about as well.
So can you describe that for those who don't know anything about?
Where things are being sent. Things are being sent to you. Various entities on all different levels were being sent.
And what were they doing?
Basically, they were trying to possess me, but also there was ones trying to take out my soul. So it was a real battle. I mean, I can't even describe it in words because it was such a battle to keep my sanity and my soul in place, you know. And I kept asking God, what have I done? What's I was doing healing, I was on the right path, the spiritual path. What have I done?
Did you get an answer?
Not really at the time. I felt like it was a learning process, but I didn't know quite. I felt it was a bit unjust because I thought it's a bit harsh for a learning process, a bit too harsh. I could have learned some other way, you know. But it wasn't all to do with that. It was partly to do with what Alex was taking. Some souls. They
Are you talking about Alistair Martin?
Is it Alex?
The young chap, the young guy.
Yes, the black goo.
Okay, right. Okay,
right. He
right.
was talking about these. On the video that I watched, he said some souls they just want to take out because they are maybe too far ahead. It's like what I later coined the matrix system on the third dimensional level, and all the stepping outside the box. I must have stepped too far out the box, and I was thinking maybe it's something to do when I was 15 and I had that experience. I was totally outside the box then. Maybe I was noticed, you know, and thought,
yes,
yes, what's that one, you know. It's funny because the healer I did the workshops with, the crystal workshops, she said, you've chosen a very hard path. The only thing you can do, I was told, the only thing you can do, Samantha, is to jump in a cold bath.
I hadn't heard that.
Yes. And so I did jump in a cold bath. I'm laughing because it happened a few times while my sister was out, and it was like they're trying to take me out, and I thought, bath, cold bath. So I was running the bath, jumped in the bath, and one time I jumped in with all my clothes on. My sister came in and said, Samantha, what are you doing? And I said I was told to do this because they're trying to take me out. And she didn't understand. She said, okay, whatever you need to do to be doing. But it was a bit hilarious at the time for both.
And you were telling me earlier that you'd actually found a healer who could really help you, but every time he cleared,
yes,
it came back and it came back, and then suddenly he was attacked, So
Yes.
and he couldn't work for
Yes.
more than 3 months or something.
Yes.
Is that right?
Yes. Well, what happened was I went to see the healer that was recommended by another healer friend of mine, and he cleared me, and they came back, and they come back in the
Yeah.
night, always at night time usually. And it was just continuing like that. It's like whatever I did, I couldn't quite get rid of them. And
So not only was your support with that healer taken away because he was
Yes.
psychically attacked and he
Yes.
couldn't work, you then
Yes.
left your sisters after 3 months, even though she was
Yes.
happy to have you stay, but you felt you needed to deal with this yourself.
yes, yes,
So now I asked you, I said, so this went on for months, and you said, no, years,
yes, yes,
many years.
many years. Mainly because I decided to just go along with it, and I kind of went into myself a little bit and tried to deal with it. But it was on and off. It wasn't always so severe, but sometimes it was very, very severe.
And how was your health through this?
Well, while I was at my sister's, the entities came in through my solar plexus. Now, I was very athletic when I was a child, so I had quite strong, I was doing yoga as well, so I had quite strong solar plexus, so I thought. So I think I used my solar plexus as a shield, and they were coming in phenomenal rate. One day I went to see the healer, and he said, Samantha, what are you doing? And he said, you've got 10. Got 10 today. And I said, well,
10 entities.
yes. And I felt like
I don't know how
I
you...
had a message that during the attacking phase with my sisters, I had a message that they were going to take me over, the family over, the world.
Who gave you that message?
They did.
Are we talking about the reptilians?
Reptilians and other entities above them? There was higher ones as well, and they had taken over a sector of the universe. They'd actually taken over Mars and the Moon, and now they were coming for Earth. And I felt like I was the only one that was stopping them. I felt like, well, if I don't stop this, where's this going to end? So I used my solar plexus as a shield, and I think what I was actually doing was trying to take them in and take them to him and say, can you clear that lot? And I said, yes, no. He does. Clear that lot, and then, he said, are you using yourself as a station? He said, are you using yourself as some sort of clearing station, Samantha? And I said, I think so. But as I say, with him, he went out on a job, he got attacked, he was out of action for 3 months, his partner got attacked, he rang me up, asked me for advice. I was in the middle of being attacked myself. I tried to help him, and he did the work he had to do, but he very much went through pretty much similar to what I'd been through.
So coming
and from-
forward in time, tell us how this has impacted your health, and what you've been able to do and what you've understood, and also how what tools you've been using to help
Right.
yourself.
Well, because I'd gone into myself and I'd decided not to go for any more healing, because I was frightened to go to anybody. I thought, well, if this is happening to me, I don't want it impacting anybody else. So I went into myself and I tried to help myself. I prayed, I meditated. The attacks were still continuing, but I decided to just carry on as normal as I could, which I did do. And I saw an advert for Orgonite, and I thought, well, the Orgonite looks really good. I'd done a lot of research into Illuminati, how it all interconnects with everything else, and when I brought the Orgonite, I ordered I ordered about 22 pieces from South Africa. But what I'd done the mistake of doing, well, I don't know if it was a mistake because there's no mistakes, I'd put on an email that I was planning to organise the whole of Britain, and maybe they could help me as well. And
There is actually an Organite Africa
yes, there is.
thing going on, isn't
Yes, yes.
there?
And because I loved the work that they were doing, and
Yes.
I wanted to do it here. Next phase of psychic attack. Black helicopters started coming to the flat. Myself and my friends saw them twice. Helicopters would come, you couldn't see them. It's like some sort of cloaking device they were using. You couldn't see them, you could hear them, but they felt like they were right on top of you. I was being targeted with microwave technology, which involved me heating up and almost feeling like I was going to be fried from the inside.
Yes. Yeah. What were the symptoms of some of those? I know you talked about the feeling like you were being fried from the inside, but what were the other? Did you have any other?
Very hot. Yeah. Very hot. Yes, I had quite a few. I developed fibroids and polyps, and I think that's because I was using my solar plexus to stop the attacks.
Right.
And then I also had massive headaches, severe headaches, which I had a brain scan recently, and I was told that I had small blood vessel damage, but I don't think it's damage. I think it was an implant. I think it's an implant. I don't think it's actually damaged my brain, but my circulation has. It's not very good. But that's a weakness because I've always had a weak circulation anyway. And I discovered later on these entities have a way of attacking weaknesses. So if you've got a weakness, they will play on that. So mine was bad circulation, and that was one of the weaknesses. Also bladder problems. I also had bladder problems when I was a child. So that's now a problem because of the fibroids. I've got the bladder problems.
But you were also saying that sort of between, from sort of growing up, apart from those couple of issues, that basically until this major attack in your 39th or 40th year, that you were actually really quite healthy.
Yes, I was very healthy, especially doing the healing. I'd done lots of healing work. I was very healthy, very vibrant. I felt like my aura was totally out there, and people, even the healer that I did the healing course with, would say to me sometimes, "Samantha, you're glowing, what are you doing?" And I said, "I'm just doing my meditation." She said, "Well, whatever you're doing, keep doing it because it's working, So I was really very...
You were like a beacon.
Yeah, and I felt like a beacon.
So
maybe it was too light.
Yeah. So let's have a look at what began happening for you then. You can I just ask, has there ever been any externalization of any of the entities, or has it always been an internal process, either through dreams or sensing?
No, external and internal.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, both. It was just so... It was just horrendous. I mean, you could hear things in the room, but I was already...
Yeah. But did you ever see physically any of the entities?
What I did see was the greys a couple of times outside the window, trying to peep in,
And we are at, for the record, what floor are we on?
We're second floor.
We're second floor,
Yeah.
which is a good few feet off the floor.
Yeah.
Yeah,
No, they're quite capable of getting in anywhere. Through the ceiling, through the floors, through the walls, you name it. I can sense it when they come in.
Yeah.
And they always seem to come in through the kitchen. I don't know why. They seem to come in through the kitchen. I hear the noise in the kitchen. I'll go in the kitchen. I can hear kind of things going there. But what happened when I ordered the orgonite, it just threw everything into a bigger picture, because
Okay.
then,
Tell us about that.
yeah. Well, then I realised that everything was connected, and that I'd already done a lot of research on the Illuminati and the pyramids and how they work and how everything's integrated on the third dimensional level, to control and manipulate people and deceive people into believing that this reality is the one and only reality. With that integration came the sudden realisation that everything on the third dimension is that matrix of control, but also on the fourth dimension is the matrix of control. So you've not only got to get through that, you've got the fourth dimension to deal with.
Yeah.
And I had visitors.
What kind?
Well, I had a man come through here, through the kitchen, walking here. He paralysed me just before it happened. I was paralysed.
Did
I was
he
awake.
Did he look physical?
He looked physical, pretty physical to me.
Mm-hmm.
And I was in a kind of semi-conscious state, but I wasn't asleep, and I was paralysed. And he came in. This is after the orgonite, when I said I wanted to organite.
Yes, we'll talk about that in a minute. What did this gentleman look like?
Tall, very tall, with a dark coat, longish hair.
Dark or fair?
Dark. I came in through the kitchen. I thought, what's he doing here? But I was paralysed, I couldn't do anything. He came in, he walked past me over there. I've got orgonite there, as you can see on the window. He walked past there.
Oh, let me just go and have a look at that.
That's the African one.
Yeah.
And there's also
Sorry.
one on the top there, and one on the computer.
Okay.
But you can't see that one. It's a pyramidal one. He walked past me, went towards the orgonite, had a scan, look round, and then I said telepathically, "Get out of my flat. This is my flat." Oh, sorry.
No, carry on.
Can you hear that?
Yeah.
"This is my flat. This is my space. Please get out." At which point he hurriedly left.
Interesting.
And there was another
Interesting.
time, if I can just get these experiences in, because I think they're important. There was another time when I was in the kitchen topping up my mobile phone. I felt the heat again. Always comes with the heat first. And I thought, something's going on. I didn't feel it physically, but the heat left, and as I looked at my arm, a hand mark.
Yes, and we're going to have a look at some of the pictures, because you actually managed to take
Yeah.
photographs of those.
The finger marks appeared on my
Yeah.
arm, my left arm.
Yeah, and we'll look at some of the other pictures that you've given us as
Yes.
well to have a look at.
Yeah.
Puncture marks, etc.
There was another time I was lying in bed. At this time the greys were still hovering around, and and
What do you mean
thought
by
I
hovering round? I mean,
well,
do you mean they were here?
Sometimes they were there, sometimes they weren't. Sometimes I was left alone, and sometimes they would just appear. There was a time when one came in through the hallway, came through, and he came in and he tried to take me out of bed. I was semi-conscious at this time. I hadn't quite fallen asleep. He tried to take me out of bed.
And so what is he doing to do that? You're indicating that he's grabbing your arm
He's
there, did he?
grabbing, it was always
Right.
the left arm. He seemed to try and take me by the left arm. He tried to take me. I said no. I'm not going with you. And he or she, because it could be
Yeah.
either sex, went towards, felt it was male though, he went towards the hallway, and then he went out through the hallway, still trying to goad me to come. And I said, no, I have no business with you, I don't want you here, please leave. At which he did. He went through the ceiling. Another time, there was another incident when I was lay in bed, and I'd gone to bed, and a tall male entity, if you like, came in. And
Humanoid in shape?
humanoid, again, very tall, that very tall 6 foot, I don't know, 6'3", 6'5", dressed in dark clothing. He came to try and take me.
Anything on the head?
Nothing on the head as far as I could see. He came to try and take me. I wasn't asleep, but I went into a kind of paralysed state, at which stage I said, no, I am not going with you. Can you please leave? You have no business here. And he didn't like it. So he said, we have come to take you. We have to take you now. And I said, at which stage I said, no, I'm not going with you. I'm sorry. You have no business here. And I thought, we? Who's the we? And then suddenly I must have astral travelled outside the front door, because outside the front door there was a couple of other males and a girl in a check skirt that was chewing gum. And she was kind of leaning against the wall as if, we're waiting for Samantha, And I must have come back after each other and said, I am definitely not going with you, so I don't know what you're doing here, but what your business is, but please leave. At which point they used some sort of electronic. I'd had the microwave, but this was different. This was electronic, something electronic, because all my nerves started to jump, and I couldn't stop myself from twitch, or my whole body started twitching. And I said, you can do what you want to me, I'm not going with you.
So did he actually point something at you, like a device?
I didn't see him with anything,
Right.
but I felt like whatever was up
Right.
there to take me
Right. Beaming
must
down
maybe
something.
communicated something to it and said, she's not coming, she's not, and this I did feel the heat at first, but I'd never had this twitching before, so I couldn't understand it, because I never had this before. And I thought, God, what, they used some electronic device? Because my whole body started, as I said, my nerves started twitching. And I just prayed, continued praying, and eventually I fell asleep, and I didn't feel like they had taken me that night, because I stayed awake. And I prayed and I prayed and I prayed for them to leave me alone. I don't know what program you're running here, but I'm not in it. And that seemed to work, because he went, I think they got frightened. But it was, he didn't seem quite human. He seemed slightly robotic, because he kept repeating the same thing over and over again. And I thought,
Was that verbal or telepathic?
Telepathic. And I thought, he's not human.
What, you're coming with me, or
Yes,
you
you're coming with me. We need to take you now.
No.
It was over and over again, like, hasn't he heard me? I've said I'm not, I'm not part of your programs, whatever they are, and I'm not going with you. And he continued to repeat it about 3-4 times. And I said, I'm sorry, I'm with God. I don't know what program it is you're running, but I've not anything to do with it. They kept trying to, using this electronic device. This went on for about a good hour.
Yeah.
I couldn't get to sleep, and I wasn't going to fall asleep while that was going on, so I kept praying, and then eventually they left, and I fell asleep.
And how did he leave? Did he kind of just disappear in front of you?
Just
Right.
like that.
Okay.
Just like that. He was in there trying his best out when I kept saying I'm not, and I didn't fall asleep, which sometimes is the case, that they knock you out
Yeah.
and try and take you.
Yeah.
So they knock you out first, you get really tired and
Yeah,
then you sleep.
sure.
Well, I'd clicked on that how they did it, so I started to try and stay awake. So sometimes I would force myself to get up, go and do something, start doing a meditation or pray,
Okay.
and that allayed it.
Well, let's just talk about the things that started going on after you had sent an email to whoever about the fact
Yes.
that you thought Britain organised or
Needed
being organised,
organising.
yes, was the way to go. And actually, I think it's quite a good idea myself.
Yeah.
So you had black helicopters. Now you said you
I
were
had
also
ordinary helicopters as well.
yeah, and you were being followed.
I was being followed. The ordinary helicopters use some sort of electronic and microwave device as well. It's
I'm
very
sure.
targeted, because I
Yes.
can feel it when I'm being
Yeah.
targeted. And
What are the
also-
symptoms?
Well, there was one incident where I felt like they put something in my head, and I was really dizzy, and I felt sick. I actually felt like I was being poisoned or something with this, whatever it was. And it went on for about 2 weeks. Then it started to allay, so it must have disappeared. But I had a car accident just after that. And some strange things happened with that, because the young man who went into me, and he did go into me literally, when the police came and took our details, they asked my date of birth, I gave it to them, and then they asked his date of birth, and he gave them a very similar date of birth, the same date of birth bar the year he was born, which was 84. So he was saying exactly the same day, exactly the same month, but a different year. And when I was standing there, I thought, this is a setup. This has been set up. You know, this is part of the matrix system, knowing that maybe I'm going to do something, or because all this started when they organised. It was a different kind of targeting, if you like. The other kind of targeting was all kind of out there, and entities, me picking up of the entities. This was much more targeted, you know. Personal, yeah, getting into my personal space, you know. I had police cars parked outside. When I came out, they would watch me. Sometimes I'd see a police car. I was dropping my mum off once. A police car came nearly up to the drive, saw me and moved back. When I clocked it, and I didn't say anything to my mum because I didn't want her to get frightened, it moved back, almost as if, oh, she's seen us, let's get back. And it moved back. I had police cars along this road, Withington Road, peeping out from the side street, realising I'd clocked them, because I made them know that I was clocking them. I kind of looked directly at them and they moved back. You know, so they're peeping out, moving back, which I had one time where a police car was following me. I was going to see a friend. A police car followed me. I don't know where it came from, because I didn't see it on the road before. It came out of literally nowhere, and it was one of the long ones. Came behind me, and I clocked it, and I asked Archangel Michael, please protect me. There's a police car on my tail. I don't know what they want. And suddenly, out of nowhere again, a white taxi, and it wasn't a black cab, it was a white cab, pure white, came in between the police car and myself and followed me up the road. And I thought, where did that come from? I didn't even see that. So where did it, and how did it have the audacity to go in front of the police car like that? You know, because the police car wasn't that far behind me, so for it to slip in there and then it drove away with me. The police car then went off somewhere.
So how long have you noticed, or did you notice that you were being followed, or that began? So I know it began after the Orgonite.
Yeah, major, but it began in the beginning, but I didn't realise it was happening because I had helicopter activity outside my flat when I was first being targeted, and I was first being. I noticed lots of helicopters, and I always got a headache, and I felt.
Yes, which is very, very common with microwave poisoning or sickness.
And also, I even said to the healer that had phoned me up that was healing me and had to stop because he was being attacked. And that was when he was on a completely different job. It was in London somewhere. The healer phoned me up and he said, "What's happening, Samantha? I've got helicopters and police all around me." And
so even
he, yes. Right. But at that time, I hadn't worked it all out. I was still in the process of finding things out for myself.
How long, over what period of time did you experience the police cars following you? Sort of a few weeks or?
Especially after the Orgonite.
But how long did that last? Sort of time frame? Was it just a week or two, or did it?
No, it's for months.
Right.
It was quite a few months. In fact, every time I saw police cars, I'd start thinking they were following me, even when they weren't. But I'd clocked the ones that way.
Yeah.
So, I even asked my sister to look out if I was being followed when they were in the car with me.
And so you
I had this head-on crash with this guy who came out of, I don't know. And I haven't even mentioned the countless UFOs that also seem to be following me as well. And I asked for Archangel Michael protection, and I think it was the service to all aliens, because there was some activity in the skies that I noticed that they seemed to be pushing them out the way.
Right. So the other ETs or aliens or
service to self.
Service to self.
Yeah, service to self.
We certainly see that on the planet, don't we? As an influence on humanity.
Yeah, who work against what is the spiritual.
Yeah. So apart from seeing the UFOs and for them seeming to be interrupting these negatives, let's say, you didn't have any other interaction.
Oh no,
no.
I had quite a few. I had, because I've got some binoculars there, and I can see them through that, and they know I can see them. A couple of times I've channeled good energies to them, and they do not like it. They absolutely freak out.
How do they freak out?
I said, may God be with you. Go in peace. Go with the light, and they actually freak out like this. They don't know what to do. It's like they're all over the place, and I watch them through the binoculars. They absolutely do not like it.
So what about the Orgonite? Tell me about the Orgonite, how that has been impacting and making a difference.
Yeah. Well, the Orgonite I put in the car because I thought, well, if I'm going to be followed that much, then I need some protection while I'm in the car. So I brought a couple of the, I don't know if you can reach that one off there, Samantha, those, yeah. A couple of these little, these, I don't know if you can see it, it's got copper and amethyst in the centre, and then it's got a crystal, quartz crystal in the bottom, but you can't see that because it's got the shavings there. I could put a couple of these in my car, one in the front, one in the back, and phenomenally it just helped with the following. The police started, they didn't seem to be following me. The odd one I still got, but was very, very, very in between. These are the ones here. I think I ordered them from Organics.
Are they the South African ones?
No, these are not the South African ones. Right. These are the American. I think these were the UK ones. There's Organiters in the UK. If you put UK Organiters, you can come up with a list of organisers in the UK.
Right. And how did that help you with your experiences and attacks?
That lessened the attacks. I mean, not saying it stopped automatically, because it brought down the attacks to a level that I could handle, because I could handle it, but it was very hard to keep things together with everything that was going on.
And do you think that your current health conditions, which you mentioned
Yes.
before, are related to the attacks?
Most definitely, because I was very, very healthy before. I mean, I did athletics as a child. I was very, very energetic. I was very
Right.
healthy.
Mhm.
Didn't have any problems.
Yeah. So in every way, the negatives, let's call them, have tried to stop you on your spiritual work, stop you on your physical path, stop you in every which way.
Yes, that's part of the nature of it, because it slows you down and stops you getting to where you're going, you know.
Tell us about the
also-
Orgonite in the third dimension. Do you think it has any reflection in the fourth?
I think the Orgonite impacts the fourth dimension. I think that's what they're worried about, to be honest. I think that it's rife energy. Or if you look at organ energy,
Which is Wilhelm Reich, was
Reich,
the
was
creator or
developed,
developer
yes,
of it.
yeah, and
Yes.
he had a very tough time.
Yes.
Because he eventually, they took him out. So
That's right.
I know people who have, I looked on the Orgonite website, I know people who have physically been taken out when they've been using this stuff. So I know it impacts the fourth dimension, and if it's fourth dimension, it can be detrimental to them.
Well, tell me how, sorry to interrupt there, but I know that we're getting a little bit out of time and I don't want to miss anything.
Right.
I just wanted to really ask that you mentioned that your friends and family you felt also had been subjected to some negative.
Yes.
Has that stopped also or abated with the Orgonite use?
Well, I gave everybody Orgonite. So
did it make a difference?
It did make a difference. It's largely abated for them. Not totally for me, but it's the way I handle it now. I still feel I've got some moving forward to do. I may have some. I noticed when I got in touch with the Amash project and things like that, my phone was tapped a lot.
Right.
Yeah, and
So's mine.
The email attacks came after I put the email out about the Orgonite.
And when you say email attacks, what form did that take?
I had it's like a zap checker. It's a blocker.
Oh right.
I've got it actually on the phone. I should have showed you that. And it said something like 240. They've stopped 240.
Oh right. Okay, like spam, or attacks or Trojan horses.
And 16 major
viruses,
which I wasn't getting before.
Right.
And also sometimes when I looked at something, it would be taken off. You know,
right.
At something, and then it would just shut. Computer would either shut down or it was taken off.
Yeah.
So I knew then intuitively. You know, after a bit, it's like you catch on to the game.
Yeah.
You know how they work, if you like. So
you think that this is all an illusion?
I think that in many ways. In more ways than one.
This control mechanism is really what I'm referring to,
Yes.
not life in general, but maybe life in general.
Yeah. I think that reality has been controlled and manipulated by the Masters of Deception now. Who are the Masters of Deception? Well, the Master of Deception are the fourth dimensional controllers on that level who have been influencing on the third dimension for many, many years. This is we're talking about thousands of years.
Yes, I think so.
On a global level.
Yeah,
So,
and do you think that the end game is the planet?
I think the end game was the planet, but I think to a large extent.
By that I mean take over the planet.
Yes, I think that was their goal, if you like. Because I heard that they have done it to other planets.
Right.
In different sections of the universe. So, but I think things are changing with all the energy changes.
Are there any other positive ETs that you have linked into?
Yes, yeah, I had, I didn't physically see them. Again, it was intuitive. Some came, and I think they were from the Ashtar Command. The Ashtar Command, from the Galactic Federation of Light. They're the head of the Galactic Federation of Light. Yes, they came to the window and they communicated telepathically, and they said, "Samantha, we are coming for you.
And
when you are ready."
Right.
Yeah.
What do you think that means?
It means that I am not quite ready yet.
But going where? Where would you be taken? Do you know?
I think that not that they meant they were coming for me, but they were coming to help. Definitely. Right. I didn't get any funny energies, or I'd had enough that I could sense when that was going on. But this was different, and they were helpers. Okay,
and you mention also things to do with the Andromedans. I recall from the DVD I saw.
Oh, yeah, no, that was just a general talk on energy mediums, because I'd read up about them, and they are helpers as well.
Right.
The Andromedans.
So you think they're part of the good team that are batting for humanity's welfare? Yeah,
Joanna, I feel like a lot of change sides. A lot of them have changed sides now, with the light energy coming in.
You may
from
be right.
The great central sun. I feel that they cannot stay in this dimension, and they've switched to the other side. And lately, my meditations, I've been asking them to go to the other side, the light force, if you like. Yeah. Join your light brothers in the Galactic Federation of Light. Join the light beings. Everything's changing, you know.
Well, it sounds as well that you've, ultimately, had a huge experience of the negative, of feeling the negative.
Yes.
And yet you've managed to keep your sanity, your wellness to some degree. You're managing that.
Yes.
And you've still come out of it all with a really positive, healthy mind and a strong spirit.
Yes. And that's what it's all about, remembering who we are.
Yes.
As we are sovereign human beings in a multi-dimensional universe, and our multi-dimensional selves and our higher selves and our divine higher selves can all help us, and our divine angels can all help us to overcome this. I found it very difficult to ask for help during the attacks, but since I've been asking for help, I've noticed things have changed, and they are going to the light.
Wonderful. Wonderful. Yeah. So just before we close, I'm going to have a look at, you've got a cloud buster down there. Have you used your cloud buster yet? This is
very interestingly, I have used it, and I've also used the little one on the window, and they're very, very powerful, but they do attract attention outside.
Right. So, what kind of attention is this?
Well, I had the helicopters.
Oh, did you?
As soon as I got them, I had the helicopters, and also when I took them out of the box, when I received them, the blast of organ was so powerful it nearly knocked me out. It was wonderful. So they definitely work, which I'm testimony to that. But be careful; they do draw those helicopters.
And so, what is your final thoughts about what you've been through, and also how you think, what you think we can use? Do you think we can use Orgonite to help? Do you think we should Orgonite Britain?
I'm not sure about Orgonite in Britain, but I will say another thing, which I didn't mention, is the power of the mind. What you've got to remember is Orgonite is only a tool. It's only a tool to that. But the power of your mind is much more powerful than any Orgonite. And if you use your mind in the right way, you can overcome any difficulty like this one. And I will say also they do tap into negative thoughts, negative feelings. They play on the feelings, emotions and weaknesses
Yeah.
of one. So be careful that your weaknesses do not become your enemy, because that can happen as well. They feed. They're like in description. They're like parasites that feed off that. It's a bit like any parasite would feed off certain energies. They feed off those energies. So do your meditations. Go along the spiritual path. I know it can be a little bit of a tough journey, but a large part of that has been cleared now. And as said in the Bringers of the Dawn, there will be system busters that have to bust open the system, and I feel like maybe that's what I was doing, busting the system.
Yeah.
And those are the ones that get the heaviest work, by the way. They get the heaviest work, unfortunately. But it's part of their job, and I feel that's part of what I came to do, really. It's just that I had an army trying to stop me. And I mean an army. Because my sister said, I don't understand it. I know they're not from this part of the universe, Samantha. She said, I can tell you that. And I said, you don't need to tell me. I know that already.
Yeah.
I know.
Well, thank you very much for sharing your quite incredible story.
And I hope it enlightens people and it helps people. And just to end on a note that a very positive dream I had about positive aliens. We did have an influx of aliens. This was they are helping. The Galactic Brother of Light and the Ashtar Command are helping to bust the system as well. But I noticed that if you don't ask for them, they don't come. It's like the angels. If you don't ask for the help, they don't come. You've got to ask for that help. And during your meditations, if you do that, that will be of a great assistance. Because when I was going through this, and I thought to myself, why am I going through this on such a heavy level? And I literally felt I had the world on my shoulders. It was very targeted. It was very specific to me.
Okay.
So, yeah. But if I can get through it, anybody can get through it. That's what I want to say to everybody. If I can get through it, anybody can get through it. Because a lot of the work has been done now. So,
well, thank you for that.
It makes things easier. Okay.
I want to thank Samantha for her time today and for sharing what she did. As you can see, quite a different take on what somebody's been through, and maybe she has busted the system for us and with us. So I think we'll all be getting our orgonite out. I know I've got a couple of pieces, and maybe I'll have some in the car as well. So everybody, thank you very much. This is another AMASH interview in Manchester on the 14th of August. I'd also like to mention that we are doing a lot of field work with the biolocation team, and they can be found at www.biolocation.com. They are using a forensic type of dowsing. Now, we wouldn't have thought dowsing would have been anything that would have really created a fantastic system and method of scientifically gauging and sensing and reporting on what is going on with ET on our planet and their craft and where they are in our skies and their manoeuvres and movements and some of their modus operandi. I'll be reporting back on our field trip and training that I'm involved in with the biolocation team in the very near future, so watch this space. I'd also like to say a big thank you to those who are pulling in to help everything to do with AMASH. We're back, stronger than ever, and there's some amazing stuff coming down the pipe. Thanks a lot. Bye for now.